Hi, I'm Dennis Capel, and I'm going to talk to you today about how you can take a shoe off. Maybe if your horse pulls one loose or something, what do you need to be able to do that? And you know, it's pretty nice to be able to do that yourself. Whether you know, it might let you continue on a ride if you can actually take a shoe off sometime. There's several different kind of tools that might be necessary for you to achieve this, and it looks like it ought to be pretty easy to get a shoe off. I mean, horses can get them off themselves real easy. It just happens just like that, and you watch a horse here and boom, boom, it comes off. But I don't know if you've ever tried to take your own shoes off. It can really be a struggle. So one tool that can be beneficial, this is actually called a clinch cutter, and you have to have a hammer as well if you use a clinch cutter. This is probably not the most ideal choice of tools for you to have because it requires you know, some getting used to more than some other things. Probably if you just keep a pretty good rasp in your trailer. And what the rasp is going to be used for is to just simply rasp the nail head off that you would normally be getting off with the clinch cutter. When it comes to picking up the front foot anyway, we want to try to be as mindful of the horse as we can, and not pull that foot out real wide. Just keep it close to the horse as you can, and then bring it out front. If you don't have a stand, you can simply place it on your knee. Like I've got his foot on top of my right knee, but my left knee is come in there to hold that foot from slipping. If you can get a simple stand and keep that stand in your trailer, that's going to be the best way to do it, because you can see this horse is pushing on that stand pretty good right now. I like to keep a little bit of bend in that horse's leg. That will make things easier. You want to put his head over and keep a shadow on my work. He can keep his head back there. So, so anyway, when I'm on the inside of the horse's leg, like I am right here, I'm sort of backed up to his chest and work over the leg. My right knee is going to come down and just help to stabilize and hold that horse's foot on the stand, and then I'll just simply get on a nail and rasp until the clinch part is off. Okay, and that's all you need to do to remove the clinch. So to do the inside, I'll simply just walk around the foot. Come here and do the same thing. And again, I just rasp the clinch off itself. And if you don't have a rasp, you can pull a shoe without taking the clinch off, but it makes it that much more difficult. Now then, you'll need some kind of a shoe puller. You know, it's absolutely impossible to get these shoes off if you don't have some tools that will work for you a little bit. You know, it's kind of like, you know, you don't see mechanics working on your car using a sledgehammer too much. A sledgehammer is no good to them. Neither is a pair of pliers when it comes to taking off a horseshoe. You've got to have tools that were made to do this. This is a shoe puller, and what makes this one work is the room that's in this area right here, because that's what I'm going to use to pry that shoe loose with, and then it will allow you to get between the foot and the shoe. The shoe will be inside, and still not cut the nails. You don't want to cut the nails off, because that'll leave nails in the horse's foot. We want the nails to come out as well. But probably this is a tool you might not be familiar with, but this one as far as horse owner removing their own shoes, I think this would be a much more valuable tool. This is called a crease nail puller, and it's designed the way it's made to pull one nail at a time. And if your shoes, especially if they haven't been on very long, the nail head should be pristine enough yet that you can get a hold of that nail head and then simply remove that shoe one nail at a time. You're going to find that horses will argue with you less taking the shoe off this way, especially maybe you've got a horse that's a little tender-footed. They don't like you prying around on that sensitive foot. So, you know, the easier you can make it for the horse, the better you're going to make it for yourself. Now, you do have to put that, I guess you don't have to is a poor choice of word. You don't have to put that leg between your legs, but it's easiest to do it that way. So I'll just catch it right there, and then I just sort of fold my leg around the horse's leg and let it rest on my calf. See, my knee is here, so I'm letting that horse rest its leg down below. Now, when I'm ready to work, I'll pick it up above my knee, and then I'll bring the other one, so I'm holding it between my knees right now. And I'm trying my best to get underneath of the horse where this horse can be comfortable. Now, I've got that crease nail puller. Now I've got to dig around there and get enough dirt out of that groove that I can get a hold of that nail, see? And that's the way they'll come out, one nail at a time like that. This keeps you from further bending the shoe. And if you notice, this horse is not arguing at all with this process, where I'll pull the outside using the nail puller. If you're going to use your shoe puller, you got to get it underneath between the foot and the shoe itself, and bring it together where that tool is solid. Now, when I've got it in that position, I'm going to pry down and towards the opposite toe. So just like that, and that pried those nails loose where I can pull them one at a time with the shoe puller. Okay, and then just simply leave it alone. Now, people ask me all the time, when you lose a shoe, do you need to take the other shoe off so the horse is balanced? No. I mean, give him something to stand on if he needs that other foot to protect himself from. From my own personal experience, if I were to take my boots off and to be asked to walk from here to the trailer, I couldn't do it. A horse that's used to wearing shoes, when you take the shoes off of him, chances are he's going to have a little trouble walking for a time. So if you can leave it, if you've got a shoe that hasn't been disturbed, it's better off, in my opinion, to leave that shoe on so that the horse has at least got the other leg to stand on with most of the weight. He talked just a little bit to you about balance, and this is just to educate yourself a little bit, and you hear about balance all the time, and what is it? How do you tell when things are balanced? So let me clean this foot out, and I'll see if I can show you. For one thing, that frog is really designed to have access to the ground. And we hear all the time, about a horse needs more heel. He needs to be stood up more. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if you think about what's really going on when you leave excess heel, you're lifting that foot you're taking the frog further off the ground, and you're giving it less access to what it was intended to have as a support system. that frog, when it has contact with the ground, ample contact access to the ground, you won't have problems, not very often anyway, like thrush. That foot will keep itself clean because of having that access to the ground. Also, when I think of shoeing, I don't think of just putting a piece of steel on the bottom of a horse's foot. I think of how can we best support this horse. And the internal structures of the horse's leg are a little different than ours. We've got actual sockets and joints holding our bones together, where horses just kind of the bones are sort of just floating in there, and they're held in suspension with muscle connected to tendon that's connected to bone. And when those bones or when those tendons are in the right frame, they hold the horse, they support the horse's leg as it was intended. Well, the whole bottom of the horse's foot is supposed to be a support mechanism. So the frog needs to be part of that support mechanism. And when that frog, see how clean that frog is? You know, that's what comes. It's got some extra length on it, but look how clean it is. This area of the frog right here is called the central sulcus. And so, well, that central sulcus is a static part of the horse's foot. What does static mean? That means it does not move. The hoof wall itself, especially on the sides and at the toe, will stretch, and we call that distortion. And distortion is one of the biggest things that plagues most horses today, because we have a continuous ongoing conflict between the ground and the hoof wall and the weight of the horse and movement. We've got conflict taking place. So if you run your thumb down beside the frog into that crevice between the frog and the sole, you'll find a spot where the bars terminate into the frog, right there. That will also translate to the widest part of the sole. And then back here at this frog, you see that little V right there? If I put a dot right there, and then if I measure at the widest part of the foot out to the sole, that length right there is going to be the length of the central sulcus of this horse. So if I started at that dot right there and then go forward, twice that is the length of this horse's frog, and 1 inch behind that is going to have us at the center part of this horse's foot. Okay, the center part of the foot, and where the bars terminate into the frog, and the widest part of the foot are going to come right across what we call the center of articulation, and then 2 inches in front of that is going to be our breakover, which is right out here. Now, we've got 50% in front of the center, 50% behind center. That's a balanced foot. I was thinking, well, there's a good deal of toe sticking out over that breakover. So how can the breakover be that far back underneath of the foot? If you look at this shoe that we placed on him, the breakover in this shoe is right back here. So what's out in front allows that breakover to be back. So anyway, that might be more than you want to know about a horse's foot, but I know you hear the word balance all the time, so now you have witnessed balance, and ideally we want to have 50%, at least 50% of the shoe behind center and 50% in front, okay, which is what we end up with when we make that map. Okay.